Good afternoon, Chair Buckley, members. I'm Paige Duggins-Clay, Chief Legal Analyst at IDRA, here to testify in support for House Bill 213. We think that this bill is fantastic and a great building block, building on the foundation for your work last session, Chair Buckley, passing House Bill 3917, which is creating a stronger infrastructure for our schools and for our communities and our families to partner together to address the issue of absenteeism in schools. House Bill 213 provides another critical level of infrastructure, which is that data collection, because frankly, we can't solve a problem that we can't see. In order to understand the unique challenges that our young people are facing, that our families are facing, getting and staying in school, we need to figure out exactly who are the young people who are being impacted and what are the barriers that we're facing so that we can create good policy to get them into, get them and keep them in our class. I'd like to flag, I've cited some research from our organization for over 40 years. My organization, IDRA, has done a statewide attrition study where we have looked consistently and comprehensively with the same methodology at that our public schools' holding power, the ability to hold on to kids when they matriculate into our public school system and then ultimately make it to graduation. And you heard the statistic last week. You know, we are losing in Texas 1 out of 5 students in our Texas public schools. And that should be alarming for everybody. We know that attrition is not experienced evenly by all students. We know that students with disabilities and students in special education, economically disadvantaged students, pregnant and parenting students, and students of color disproportionately have challenges getting and staying in school. And so we want to be able to collect data on the issue of absenteeism in order to better understand and provide those targeted interventions. Ultimately, we believe that we've identified several factors that contribute to absenteeism, and we look forward to working with this committee this session and beyond to address these problems in a holistic, child-centered way.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, so just one for me for the panel. So to be chronically or classified as that, you have to miss 18 days, is that what you said? So basically 10% of the school year. And I know there's lots of reasons for that. But that's a significant amount of learning loss simply by that. And so basically what I understand this bill would provide us to really know to what extent this is occurring so we can make some decisions on how to do that. I know that when you talk to districts across the state, you know, we reach out as a representative to talk to school districts, you will find that that is one of the number one things that we confront post-COVID is that the attendance rate is down. What's interesting is that doctor's appointments during school hours are up. So there's been a shift in sort of the connection of the importance of sending kids to school, and I think us being able to take sort of a top-down look at that could be really important as far as making those decisions, because if we're losing 10% of the school year, we're asking schools to do something nearly impossible. And so, anyway, I think that's important. I appreciate you clarifying that. And are there any additional questions, or does anybody have a comment to that? Yeah, Ms. Duggins-Clay.
Thank you, Chair. And just wanted to affirm and agree with what you said. You know, one thing that happens when we collect this data is it's not sort of done at the end of the school year. You know, 180 days was it's monitored sort of as the school year progresses, so that when a student begins, you know, showing signs that they're becoming on track to be chronically absent, interventions can be made. Right now, we have some metrics for doing that, but not reliable ones, not ones consistent with sort of national standards. So that's really important. And then sort of building on that, making sure that we are tracking what actually works to help with these students. I mean, I'm a parent of a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, right? So I'm a parent that began having school-age kids during the pandemic, right? And I totally agree with what Representative Hinojosa was saying. There is a disconnect between what are the expectations for sending your child to school and what communication is necessary and why a student is absent. And so as we track it throughout the school year, if there's collaboration between the district, for example, through measures like House Bill 3917, right, we begin to catch it before a student becomes truant, for example, and before the criminal justice system gets involved. And so we really view this as a proactive measure to increase communication, to identify what do students and families need, and it may be as simple as clarifying, hey, if your kid has a fever, this is a piece of paper you need to send to school, so we don't actually mark you up as unexcused absence.
Do you see it also as a means of if we clarify a chronically absent student as being at risk of, and they may qualify in other areas, but possibly unlocking more comp ed funding for interventions?
That is not my area of expertise,
Yeah.
but that is my understanding of the interconnected between our school funding
And I know they
system and
could
that
qualify under various,
designation.
because a lot of it's poverty related, but it makes you
Yes.
wonder, and that's enrollment based, by the way,
Yeah.
which is important, but also if that's a way we can, because I know districts struggle sometimes in being able to utilize those funds to the extent they'd like to, because a lot of,
Absolutely.
lack of a better term, red tape.
The language
regarding
of
that.
educationally disadvantaged is connected
Yeah,
to
okay,
compensatory
gotcha,
education
all
a
right,
lot
very
more.
good.